welcome into the Sorare Andrews podcast brought to you by RotoWire. I am Andrew Laird, senior soccer editor of RotoWire, joined as always by Andy Black, who goes by Black on Sorare. Special guest this week is, for those of you who are watching, James. There he is.
Hey, hi, pleasure, boys.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Before we jump in, you want to give us a little background on your Sorare journey? It seems like everybody has to do that when they go on podcasts about Sorare.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So, I started back in, I think, July of 2019, which was before a lot of people. I think I can remember, 30 people playing at that time. I was still kind of in and out. I wasn't as interested because it was JPL League. I was more interested in just trying to pick up some of the West Ham players. So that was fun. I still have a lot of those guys, Felipe Anderson, hanging around. But I've just been playing and submitting lineups and winning and keeping cards and never selling and enjoying it along the way. And it's increasingly just kind of keep snowballing in enjoyment.
I think we got the wrong guy for speculation bundle.
I fully thought the idea of speculating on Sorare, and when we started talking about it collectively, what you guys thought about speculating on Sorare was different of what I thought it was. And so, yeah, we brought on somebody who has never sold a card before.
That's not true, but
right.
I don't like to, because I do have a pretty good speculative view of the platform, where it's going, and well, I just believe in it. So,
right, you guys were ready to speculate about the platform, and I was going to talk about speculating within the platform. But no,
we can do both.
We could do both. So the one that we, at least on the top of our notes here, Andy, is about the new scarcity and what that does to everything. Are we at least in agreement? I'm not going to say how I feel about it yet, but do you guys think a new scarcity is necessary? And if so, is it necessarily soon?
I think it depends on the goal of the Sorare team. They could grow a small niche game and keep it the way that it is. Or they could try to make a global game that millions of people play and attract tons of people, right? And the only way to do that is with a new scarcity where you can lower the entry price. And that's what a new scarcity is going to do. It's going to lower the entry price.
What do you think?
I agree. I think it's a lot about what the platform in game is, and I think we've already heard that they're targeting to become that entertainment brand. So necessity, I think absolutely. I think that they may end up doing something very similar to how they've done rares. They advertise 100 a season. There's very few that hit 100, right? And it may be very similar. So lowering that price point is important, but it will be interesting to see how much it really does lower it. And we see something very similar to super rares gaps, or rares to the super rare gap, and very similar. It's if you have a 1 of 1,000 scarcity, is it really going to be 10 times cheaper than a rare?
Probably
not. So
I mean, one of the first things that I want to do is buy an Mbappe or buy a Neymar.
Yeah. And I do think that is really, really important, because I think a big gap for people is understanding the players that they actually know and want to watch, right? Mm-hmm. And getting your hands on those players. And that's why I think it's, we may talk about it in a bit, but around a common restructure and the ability to get those people and try them out who you actually enjoy and like watching is really important to retain people, I believe.
Agreed.
Do you think the number is 1 of 1,000? My thought is, if it's 1 of 1,000, and the idea is we want to make this game a lot more accessible. 1 of 1,000 just means that I'm paying, 500 for an Mbappe instead of 5,000 or 10,000. It's not I think you have to even go to 10,000? Like, I don't know if
What if it's unlimited?
But like, do you think the goal is going to be everyone should be able to get an Mbappe? Or what do you think is the most expensive new scarcity card? Like what the goal should be?
So I think the main target is probably just to lower the entry point. It's a big around problems, and when you talk about problems of products, a lot of people don't like the entry point cost.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have the flexibility to say 1 of 1,000, and in 2 to 3 years they come out with a 1 out of 10,000, right? I don't think their target is necessarily a specific price on players, but just to create more accessibility to those and making it cheaper.
See, I kind of disagree a little bit with that. Like, I don't. Yeah. Like, I don't like the idea that they would release like an uncommon scarcity with 1,000 and then be like, next year, oh, we're gonna make 10,000, and then the year after that 100,000. Like, what if it was just unlimited? Like, we can make as many of them as we need to.
One thing that I do have trust in them is that this is like one of the, and I haven't been involved in like all of the different crypto NFT projects, but this is one of the very, very few that have actually organically grown in value over time. And they've done very well at keeping that not spilling over the top and going crazy with the supply. So that's where I think that they wouldn't do something like unlimited. I think that it would be very similar to how they've introduced their existing scarcities and how they've kind of throttled the way that rares get introduced to the auction market, and the way they're rewarding them as well.
Like, so obviously, if a new scarcity, the idea of introducing one has to be like, this is it, like this is the last time we're putting more out, or
I think
if that's
so.
the case, is 1,000 enough?
I don't think I've never heard or speculated that this is the last time they may increase the scarcity.
I've got a more important question, guys. What color is the new scarcity going to be?
Yellow?
Yellow, come on.
Maybe green for looking out for those Real Betis fans.
See, I was thinking pink because it's in between a rare and a common. Yeah? No?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wonder if, like, I don't think they're going to do 1 of 1,000 and have it be a problem where they're like, oh, wow, we actually need 5,000 or 10,000. Like, especially if they keep talking about adding more teams. Like, I think the one problem that I have with that, so like, it seems like the argument of like, they don't need a new scarcity because they have so many teams that they're going to add. But like, you're not going to add, that doesn't give me more Mbappes.
Yeah.
And so like, there are only a handful of teams left of players on Mbappe's level in terms of the game and collectability, that adding every other team from Liga MX and in Brazil, like that's not really moving the needle, I feel like, to get mass adoption and then people coming in. Like, I think there's this weird, like, argument, not an argument, but you're either saying we need to bring more people into this game so that we have to make the entry point more accessible, which theoretically is the cost of 5 cards, because that's what we're playing in this game. But does that mean that everybody should be able to buy all the players that they want in that cheaper price? Like, should I be able to get, Mbappe and Ronaldo and whoever else is at the top? Or do we just keep it kind of how it is now, except there are just more of them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that I've heard or seen, at least in the feedback channel, was that they would have a set price to them, which would be interesting. And I think that's where you start getting into future, like way future out. How big do you really see this platform getting? Because that's where you have to say, this is that final lower scarcity, and we're setting the floor on it. I don't know how they handle, making sure that people don't buy them all up. That's a big problem potentially. Like a single user buying half of the supply of Mbappe or whatever. But that was an interesting take on setting a floor price for them.
The only thing I don't really like about that is then it's just kind of like everybody can have it then, like everybody gets the thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to use the thing.
Did you take that as every card was the same price?
That's how I interpreted it.
I took it a little differently. Like the stars might be maybe like $20 or whatever, and then the tier ones maybe 10. You could like I've seen people explain it that way, and I think that would be kind of fine too. But I don't know. Like set prices to me is just kind of eh.
Yeah, but then you have to worry about all these people jumping in and out of tiers, and
I was just about to say, at least we get to trust them on making the tiers right.
Well, that ain't happening. But I just
that's a really hard thing to do.
What can they do anything with like randomness? Can we do like, oh, you pay $5 and you get a random card or something? Like, that's not happening, right?
I hope it could. I think that there's I think that there's like gambling and legal issues around that. But I mean that's why I've gotten in a few other of the projects in the space is just the addiction of opening packs.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean you're talking about Gods Unchained right now, right?
No.
No.
No, yes, but it would I think it would open up a lot of opportunity for people. I mean, that's what you're doing right now when you win a tier 3 is there are good tier 3 cards that you can stumble upon, and it's still
get out of here. No, you're crazy.
It's like one.
I've got a different opinion on it than you guys. I love opening the tier 3s.
I mean, Andy, you said like last week you like the randomness though of tier 3.
I do. Yeah, I just like to give Jimmer crap.
Oh, thank you.
I think
well received.
Yeah. I think the tier 3 lottery would be more fun if it felt like somebody won. Like it feels like nobody ever wins the tier 3 lottery. That's all.
So I can tell you from being in this game longer than you guys have, I have several cards that were tier 3s that are now tier 1s that are playable every week.
All right,
like okay, Kikuchi from he was a tier 3 card.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he's
he's
the top on the platform.
Yeah,
he's like broken now. He's got to be like star.
Yeah.
So right.
Yeah, I think if anybody who has patience in Sorare can succeed, especially in the market, especially in the auctions. Like if you're buying stuff off season, I'll reveal my strategy on stream right now. I was hitting FIFA, so I was looking at FIFA potential rating scores, and I was sweeping the bottom of the market, buying the potential on the youngest players. And it's like now I have all of these young guys who I paid less than $5 for back in early 2020 or whatever. But a couple of them have already become full-time starters. And
less than $5. What?
Yeah, we'll edit that part out.
People are gonna murder you.
I'm not on Discord and
what?
He's like,
any other social media. You can't get in touch with me. I'm sorry.
Good.
I discovered this Mbappe guy, picked him up for $11, and now what do you know?
I thought it was a Hanson song.
Oh my god.
So does the new scarcity kill rare card prices?
Yes.
Initially, yes.
Yes, initially, yes. And I think it's because the biggest point people want to play, and the reason people are ramping up the price of rares is because that's the entry point. And I think anybody who just wants to get on the platform and experience the ownership of cards and experience the ability to effectively create a dynasty collection, they would do that at a lower scarcity happily, right? I think we're gonna see the same gap initially as like you see in D2.
Right. Couple things. Laird DFS, the like 95% of the users probably play the lowest stakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that will transfer here probably. And then a little bit with that too, though, like I think there's a chance that the team handles it in a like proper way, and we might see the reduction in auctions for rares, and maybe that helps a little bit, kind of throttle the market by just limiting supply a little bit until we get enough of that user base that's interested in maybe buying rares.
What percentage of new people right now, like let's say all of the people who joined within the last month and have bought at least five cards, what percentage of those people do you think, and it's kind of an absurd question, but go play with me for a little bit here.
Sure.
How many of those people do you think wouldn't have bought rare cards if there was a lower scarcity?
I mean, it's a high number. It's 90% plus, right?
It's probably the same percent that hasn't bought super rares.
There you go.
I don't know though, because when you get into $500, $1,000 for a competitive lineup versus $2,000 to $5,000 for a competitive super rare lineup, that's a pretty big difference in disposable income. So I don't know.
I think the way I was trying to think of this is basically the reduction of people who are in the market for rare cards now because they can buy this new scarcity. Is that made up by the number of people who hear of this new scarcity and are like, oh, it's a lot cheaper to get in, but then see that you can win more with the rare cards and are like, oh, maybe I'll just buy the rare cards. Like, does that actually replace the pool?
I think it has to be like they have to introduce them in a way where you might need a rare as well. So Division 5 might say you can buy these uncommon cards or whatever the heck we're going to call them, but if you want to captain a card in that lineup, just like they do in the starter league or whatever, you have to have a rare to captain it. So I think little incentives like that to push people towards the rares. I mean, you bring on, thousands of users and they all got to buy one rare. It might protect the prices of rares a little bit.
Yeah, and there's potential incentive if we're really speculating, potential incentive outside of the divisions as well, right? Like when you talk about, I think it may be in the AMA or something with Nicholas was like, yeah, if you're a rare card owner, you get a raffle for season tickets for your favorite club or whatever. And
okay, Gary,
this is the speculation bundle. But like that's where I think it can go, and I think what really needs to happen, and we've talked about it a bit, is improving the rewards. Like rare rewards and rare divisions have to be significantly better than the lower scarcity right now. And then like D3 is better, but you can effectively win it with full rares. It's very difficult. I want to delict with a full rare team in U23 D3. So
you suck.
It's possible, and people, a lot of the same reason why I think packs would be enormous is people love gambling and people love the possibility of hitting the lottery, right? And when you pay $5 for a pack and you could pull an Mbappe or whatever, and that's why I think it would be really cool if even part of the reward system, and I think they're doing some of this a bit, which is kind of weird, but like if you get a tier 3 and you're in that tier 3, there's a small percentage that you're bumped up a tier.
Yeah, I like that.
Like you actually see some sort of like mechanic in the app that's like it's just
fireworks
like
or something,
a pie chart, and it's like 20% to get bumped up a tier, and it like spins around, and you're like, damn it, not again,
right?
I missed it. But like
a giant wheel that spins, and if you get the one spot that gives you the tier up or whatever.
Yeah, and I think they're kind of doing it because they're saying like if you score X amount of points, but you don't, if you don't hit a certain like 130 or more right now, you're put in this pool of a drawing to get a tier 3 or something, which is cool. But then the argument is like, why don't you just expand the amount of people that are paid out? Because people will be upset.
Yeah.
But you effectively get to pay more with some enjoyment because you go into Tuesday morning and you go into Friday morning with that chance. And that's what keeps people here, I think.
Doesn't limiting the prize pool though for Division 5 keep you from progressing? Like we talked all last week about how we think that you should be able to win a card that moves you to another level, like winning a super rare in D4 so you can play D3.
Yeah.
If we're limiting the prize pool in D5, like why don't you want people to move on?
Well, I think you can limit it. Like right now, you look at the common league or what starter league or whatever. It's top 3 can win a rare. Like
right,
that
30,000 people.
That's kind of a joke. But if you look at whatever this D5 is going to be, like if you expanded that out to 50 people or something can win a rare, okay.
I mean, so I can tell you, people enjoy that because of the chance to win common goalkeepers. One of my buddies just won Eloy Room on, a common, and it was huge for him. And
I mean,
rookie league is
that's a great card right now.
Yeah.
I wish I could win commons.
If you could buy, Laird, if you could buy a common goalie right now, like if you could buy that Eloy Room, what would you pay for it?
It's a great question.
Would you trade Martin Hongla?
No, I haven't.
Oh, that's my man.
That's a great question. Maybe because I'm trying to think like.
Are you going to give me a price in ETH or US dollars?
I was absolutely thinking of it in ETH. I have no idea what it would be in dollars. I don't know. Maybe 0.05. Is that too much?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. I can say from experience that I have rare goalkeepers that are horrific and cost much more than what a common would and score nothing.
Who would that be?
I didn't want to say his name. I don't want to give him any credit. I'm going to go somewhere else with that.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Of course, I got that for free, so I actually didn't pay.
0.05. So 0.05 for a rare goalie that's going to be usable for the next 5 months.
Common.
Yeah. I don't know. That's interesting.
Something that you don't own and can't trade, you'd pay 0.05.
I might.
Yeah.
Because you're really only like you're right. You don't own it, so I'm basically.
Let's say you can trade it. I mean, you're buying it, so.
I would love to be able to trade commons.
0.05 seems super reasonable.
Wouldn't it just be better to allow me to pay somebody else 0.05 to? Well, I guess not, because Sorare needs to make money. Yeah. But like I was just going to say, like I could pay somebody else 0.05 and I could loan room for 5 months or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, I know Jimmer's opinion on loans, and I know loans really isn't on our agenda for today, but Jimmer, have the floor. Talk about loans.
I just think it's a good opportunity for them to get another revenue stream. I don't think that we have the amount of people on the platform to facilitate loaning, but when you have people like me who have collections and they've played the game and they don't want to sell cards, it benefits both parties, because I could loan a card of a forward or a skill position that I'm not using, and it would be significantly cheaper, and it would be a competitive market that Sorare could take like 5 or 10% off the sale from the seller, and they could set up the smart contract. They could say, after this game week, transfer it back to me, or you don't even have to transfer ownership, and it wouldn't cost them anything in ETH. I say ETH because it's Ethereum. So I don't know. I think it would be a good opportunity. Plus, it fits the whole narrative of football in general, right? There's a huge loan market, right?
Yeah.
You're going here for X amount of money, and you're going back once the contract's over.
Do you think the people who are taking these loaned players see enough of a benefit to be pro-loan, as opposed to how anti people with big galleries are, who will benefit because they're the ones getting this revenue stream? Like there's literally this whale bashing term that we all joke about, but those are going to be the people who loan the most cards.
But here's the
Yeah,
deal: there's going to be a race to the bottom on loaning prices. Like people, it will go really low.
Yeah, I mean, it's either you loan it or you don't, and it could literally replace a new scarcity because you're lowering the entry point for people to play daily fantasy sports, right? It becomes a daily fantasy sports platform because you don't own that card, and the people who own the cards, because it becomes something that's really special that you can actually transfer the utility to somebody else. And I think one of the biggest mistakes on the platform today, which it's really difficult for people to get to a collection of a size, and it's probably not really a problem, but the whole incentive for managers, and the only way that Sorare makes money today is selling cards. And there is a maximum amount of cards that you really should own in a gallery. And at that point, people stop putting money in the game. If there is a loan market that's lucrative, the auction market becomes even more competitive because the people who buy cards, maybe they don't even have to play the game. They just loan the cards out.
I mean, imagine like Pal Trader or one of these other guys with just ridiculous galleries.
Yeah.
Does Pal submit lineups? Does anybody know?
Yeah,
he does. Okay, so I think he would probably not submit lineups if he could just loan everything, like all of his like good players and everything. If he could just loan them out,
yeah,
why bother?
Plus, people who believe in the platform, you just continue to buy and hold the cards. I think from a whale bashing perspective, I think the auction house would go crazy. Like the cards would become even more expensive. So
I don't know. Would people? That's so hard to say too.
It's a balance, right? I think it's going to be pretty tumultuous at first, right? It's going to swing. The loan market would be crazy cheap. People would just say, "Screw buying cards. I'm not going to the auction house because I can just play this way." And then it'll swing the other way when people are like, the loan market's going high or whatever.
That said, I think new scarcity kind of like makes it so that never really ever happens.
Yeah.
And the reason is because why would you have a system like that when you can just buy whatever this new scarcity is for dirt cheap? Maybe dirt cheap. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be dirt cheap.
And maybe it doesn't happen. I just always thought it was a cool idea. I always think it's something that's going to happen just simply from the ability to interact with smart contracts and Ethereum. The thing that I would like to see is Sorare make money off of it and XP not get halved, because that whole system's kind of gets destroyed. So if they build a robust system on their platform, they'd say loan through us and the cards don't lose XP because we don't actually transfer them. They just go into a database and they can.
I'll be honest, I hate the loss of XP. I think that they should just take a fee and be done with it, because it helps them, and then the fee prevents people from loaning things back and forth because they're going to pay fees on it, and that won't be good. So I think that the play there for them is they got to introduce some kind of small, minuscule fee that just nips it.
What was the reason for the XP? Like, why did they want to stop loaning? Because this was obviously something that happened a lot. And
yeah, I mean, like that, and just like Jimmer would, be like, "Hey, Black, I'm short a forward this week. Right. You want to toss me a guy?" And sure, I got a forward you can use. And like for the competitive balance, that's not great for players with big galleries trading cards back and forth just so that they can,
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that's not good. That said, if they put a fee in there, Jimmer's going to say, "Hey, Black, can I borrow a guy?" And I'm like, I don't really want to pay a fee to give you I'm not going to pay a fee to give you a guy for a week. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm nice.
I feel so bad because my buddy's like joining it and they're starting to love it, and I'm like sitting on these cards. I'm like,
yep.
No, I'm like, I know how many positions that like I just got kicked out of a star rare reward this week if I would have just trained them and not had half of off my XP. Yeah. I think one of the biggest reasons, Laird, is because we saw a lot of that loan market going on, but it was a zero risk loan market, and it was if you win something, I get half. Here's a free team.
Mm-hmm.
And Sorare was just eating the fees on the transfers.
Right.
And they were trying to decentivize that, and I think they did well in it, but it also like kind of limits what it really means to own your cards. And like to some extent, I think people should be able to buy cards and share them with their friends, right? Like that's something that's kind of core to ownership, but it gets out of hand really quickly when there's a lot of financial incentive. And
it does just seem a little strange because it feels like this whole thing is like, you own these cards, you can do whatever you want with them.
Except that and that.
Yeah.
And that.
But I think if they just put a fee there, then yeah, do whatever you want with them, but you got to pay the fee if you use our marketplace or whatever to transfer them.
Do you think that's better than just having some sort of negative multiplier? Like any loan card only scores 80% of the points or whatever?
Like fatigue, like we were talking about at one point fatigue, which that would be kind of cool. Like having fatigue on players, and when you transfer them, the fatigue drops way down or whatever. And every game week that you use a player, like this is something I actually still think would be cool. Every game week that you use a player, they lose part of their bonus, or they lose like 5% or 10%. They lose some percentage, and at some point you have to make the choice to rest that player. And I'm
out.
No, I think it's. I mean, I have a big gallery, so that sounds great to me.
So what if?
To be honest, my guys are resting themselves anyway. I've got enough DMPs.
Like De La Cruz this week.
Yeah.
Now that would be an interesting one. If he's DNP, does he rest or does he lose the 5%?
So what if whenever you transferred a card, it didn't lose half its XP, but it just couldn't play one game?
That's fun.
So you transferred, it was ineligible for lineups for 1 game week,
or maybe a whole week, 2 game weeks. Really make them pay.
Well, I don't know about that far.
Maybe that's not good for the secondary market. Then you buy a card and then you can't use it right away.
You're basically punishing both sides too, because not only can one play, you can't use it right away, but the other the loaner has to wait 2 weeks to get their card back anyway.
Yeah.
And do they then have to wait the week when they get it back?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
They would have to, right?
But I was thinking about it just really quickly, and that would incentivize me to like give some players out to friends. It would help them build lineups, but I mean that's not really what they want people to do. They want people to buy cards. So they
need to win.
It was really good for the platform. People stopped transferring cards for free.
I think what you were saying about what happens to auctions, though, if we have this like robust loan system, is that the auctions basically turn into whoever wants to loan cards. Like people who are buying cards now because they need them lose that incentive to buy cards, but everybody who's loaning cards, they're now just competing against each other. So the number of people who are trying to buy cards is much lower, but it also happens to be all of the people with bigger galleries because they just want more cards to loan them. And I think that's the opposite of what they want to actually get done. Right? Like, I think theoretically for them, it shouldn't matter who's buying the cards. Like they just want the cards sold.
Yeah.
But like really you want more people buying cards than a few people buying all the cards. Because if one of those people leaves, now that's a huge part of your business that's gone. So like the more people that buy cards, I think is better. But I still want to be able to loan cards. After all that.
After all that, I think that they just need a fee. I think a fee and get rid of the XP cut. Maybe not. I don't know.
Do you think it's better to have the fee on a loan versus the secondary market fee?
No, I mean the fee on the secondary market. If you want to do a loan, there's a fee there too. Put the fee on both places and do whatever you want, but there's going to be a small fee to move the card.
Right.
So if it's a zero cost transaction, you're going to be paying that fee.
You're talking like once they move to whatever the scaling solution is, should they still have a fee?
So you're talking about instituting a fee for a secondary market transfer. What about direct offers?
Yeah, I would do a fee there too.
So if it's a zero value card for nothing, the person transferring is paying a fee.
I think so. Or somebody's paying a fee. I don't know. I mean, figure out whoever you want to pay the fee, but somebody's got to pay.
Yeah,
They both do.
and that's really tough because then you just destroy all of the Ethereum benefits, right? Like I'll just go off the platform and send it to you with gas. But you're
Good
paying
luck.
a fee there.
You're going to pay way more.
That's fair.
And when I talk about fees on the platform, I would say they should always keep whatever their fee is should be less than taking your card off the platform, moving it, and then moving it back on. And right now to do that, you're paying hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So good luck. And they can put a fee in place right now that's $10 a transfer or something, or $5. Like, okay, that sounds high, and it probably is. Maybe a couple bucks. I don't know. It should be low, and it should be enough for them to at least make back some of the gas that they're paying for right now to move a card.
I think you could make the argument that they could charge more than it costs to do it off the platform, only because you don't have to go off the platform.
Right.
You could, but you don't want people doing that. Like that's not ideal, having to move stuff off. Like
That's what I mean. You wouldn't pay a little more to do it so that it's not off the platform?
I don't know. It just seems crummy. Like they should keep it cheap. I mean, they have no fees right now. There's no fees. Like if they're going to put a fee in, it should be, nominal, a small fee.
Yeah. I always thought it'd be interesting to incorporate some of these things into the reward system. Like if you get top 500, you earn a transfer for the week or whatever. And you could transfer a card to replace that fee or something like that.
Like a loan ticket?
Yeah. Just to like continue to, I don't know, maybe that becomes too complex.
That'd be like a power up, right?
Yeah, like a power up, or you win a specific multiplier bonus. I don't know. Maybe that probably gets too.
It would be cool if you could win other things that weren't cards. Like
Yeah,
you could do that in
that's what I'm
FIFA, like in FIFA, where you can win like the contracts or whatever. I don't know. I don't even play FIFA anymore, so I don't know what you can win. But like if I could heal Noah Lang when he gets hurt,
He did that pretty quick anyway, Wolverine style.
Right. But yeah, it'd be cool if there was other things that maybe weren't players or cards that you could somehow win.
Well, you can win XP now, or not now, but soon.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, I guess that's true. You could select that.
Do you think you'd ever select that?
No. Although, it does. There's probably people. I would be interested to talk to them, but there are probably people that will. And there's probably people that severely strategize their training lineups. It's just too much work for too little benefit.
What if they really overhauled that and made it so I don't know, the XP on a player, like a rare, let's say, what do they start at? 0%, or they get the 5% bonus? But what if you could bump them all the way up to 20%? Somehow, or 25%, and it might take 3 years to do it. But I mean, if that were the case, then if you could win XP somehow and that could boost that up, that would be pretty cool. If there was a longer term, a bigger picture there, and if you could somehow strategize your training lineups to maybe gain more XP, maybe if the fewer training lineups you have, the more training points get allocated or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the more strategy that's just in general on the platform is good, just to allow people to play and experience it differently. And right now that's non-existent in training. I think you've had the idea before, but diminishing returns on the lineup.
Yes, for sure.
Would be pretty cool, because imagine lineup team 1, you actually get double the experience that you would in any normal lineup, right? You're training.
Just say you get 10,000 XP points, and however many lineups you set, it diminishes across them. So you set one lineup, you get 10,000 XP. That's just a random number I'm throwing out there, but that XP goes on to the players that you set in training lineups.
Yeah. I mean, it would be something I wouldn't like, but it would be good for the platform.
Why
wouldn't
wouldn't
you
you like it?
Because it would be more time that I would have to spend setting lineups.
But you were just asking for more strategy.
I think it's good for the platform.
Well, do you set all your training lineups right now?
Yes.
So now
not in any meaningful way. And
but that's okay. Right now you spend the maximum amount of time because you set every single training lineup. What if you only set one training lineup and they got all the XP possible? So
I really think I'd be in the camp of training all my players. Most of them.
I might take my 5 best players that don't make it into my lineups and I would train them and really try to boost them. And there might even be scenarios where you bench a good player.
I was looking at your guys' results for this game week. And
shut up.
Oh, please don't.
Compared to mine, I don't know.
Yeah, you did pretty good. You did pretty good. Not gonna lie.
No, I'm the persona who puts in as many tickets as he can. I buy kind of the bottom, and I'm hoping for that, that dream lineup of average players to all pop off at once, and that's where I'm like, any of my guys, I believe in all of them, and they should all get XP, and I love them.
This is the speculating that I was talking about when I proposed a speculation podcast, because the academy stuff, like the potential to progress your way and possibly take XP as opposed to a card or ETH. Now I'm questioning every time I say it.
There you go.
Because my thought was just that, like, I would never take the XP. And somebody brought up the possibility that, like, if you get to the end of whatever progression you are, and it's going to run out with the 3 months, and like the 0.02 ETH doesn't really move the needle, and the tier 3 card, you don't want to play the tier 3 card lottery, and you could just take a ton of XP and put it wherever you want. Like, maybe that's worth it, but I really can't think of any situation where they're like, would you like this mystery tier 3 card or 5,000 XP points for whoever? Like, I'm never taking the XP. Never. That's not speculating. Speculating is taking the tier 3 card.
Yeah.
I think
it would be interesting.
Right now,
go ahead.
Right now, the boost is just not good enough for you to want to take. Like, if you could get your rare up to 20% or something crazy, then yeah, you might start focusing on training more, or you might take the XP boost because you could really, take a player and turn them into something else. But would you rather have a super rare or a 20% rare? I don't know. They're the same thing, right? What does a super rare start at? 20%?
Yeah.
Starts at.
I mean, yeah, so you would rather have the super rare, but it would still be cool.
Let's say you could infinitely add XP to a rare card. So would you rather take the rare card that already has 20% or the 20% super rare?
I want the super rare.
Yeah, I want the super rare.
Because they're super. And there's only 10 of them.
Yeah, they're super duper.
But you could have the only 20% rare.
Yeah.
So part of the speculation on that and what's a future possibility, I don't know if they would do anything like this, but whenever they hit max level or something, that they get something that's unique or special to them. And I think I had talked about that one time, which was, what if when a rare card reached level 20, which is difficult to do, it became a super rare for division requirements. So you could play 5 max super rares in D2, or not super rares. But that, I don't know.
It's kind of a cool idea. Like, if you could boost up your rare enough to where it can meet the qualifications to be the super rare. Like, I really like that. That's cool.
And that could go to the progression, and like they need a way.
I think So Rare just found their new game designer. Sorry, Carl.
they need
No,
a way.
I'm sorry, it's a game economist that they're looking for.
They need
There
a
you go.
reason for people to want to select that XP, right? And if
Mhm.
I get into the platform, it's really expensive. You know, like throwing $1,000 at a game is a lot of money. And when I have my 5 cards, I'm potentially sticking to them, and I'm saying these are the guys. They're gonna win me a couple cards this year, or I'm just gonna ride them. And if I can apply XP to those specific cards, you know, maybe it helps me. But if I can get them up, and I want to play into D3 or whatever else, and D3 requirements wouldn't need that max level, but
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
So you guys have obviously been around quite long. Why did they begin training? Like, I mean, obviously, like, it just seems weird to me to have like a, hey, here's something else to do with all your cards, but really what you're getting, we could just give you anyway.
I don't have an answer to that. Jimmer might.
Why am I making training lineups?
My assumption is that was an attempt to continue the reason for people to buy them. You know, like there's not absolutely no reason to have more cards than you should, because you can continue to build training lineups, you can continue to train players, and they can fill in holes whenever you need them in 5-6 game weeks or whatever. I also think that they maybe believe that there's some sort of strategy around them, because there is, depending on the lineup that you set. You know, I always make sure to captain somebody who's playing with people who do not play, because the more points they get, the more spread across all of them.
I don't know that that's true.
Yeah.
And you're training, like, nobody really knows the
Nobody
rules
knows.
around training lineups.
Yeah, and it's probably a core reason that nobody maybe knows or cares is because they don't necessarily find the value in it. But it takes a lot of patience to see it, because when you win a specific tier higher because you win by 0.03 points, I always think about training, and I'm like, I'm glad I spent that extra 25 minutes setting all my, like, that just made me another X amount of Ethereum that I could sell that card for, but never will.
You know what's funny is that problem is like really only for like 1% of their user base. Like most users can, I don't know,
Yeah.
do all their training in like 2 minutes and they're done.
I'll talk about a problem for the 1% of the user base is the way the training lineups are set from week to week, and how you have to make that big decision whether to dump them all or to keep them and make it a pain in the ass to set your lineups. And then the worst part is going back into your training lineups and seeing all of the ones that are broken, but you don't know which. It's always the limitation is your goalkeeper, and you don't know which ones have goalkeeper gaps. So you have to click into every single one, see which one has a goalkeeper,
Yeah.
click out of it, trash it, and then the whole list gets messed up. And then you have to
It's a nightmare. And Laird and I have talked about this multiple times. There needs to be, like, right before the start of a game week, how do they not have a way that I can just like view all my lineups from like one screen? Like, show me all my lineups so I can make sure I did not screw anything up. Like, I want to see them all. Show them to me. Let me scroll through them.
It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
Yes.
There's a lot of gaps that Sorare data helps to fill there. If I didn't have the lineup builder, I would be lost in any kind of strategy, and then also making sure that I'm actually putting players in lineups, because I don't dump my training lineups, and I rely on hitting that used button for every lineup I set, and I basically set them all in Sorare data to make sure that I'm filtering them correctly within Sorare. And they need to fix the filters, the no game bug, as well as, like, I don't know how the cards are organized. They're like pseudo average, highest to lowest.
I have no idea.
But then you get done with your lineups and you scroll down, and you're like, oh, what's this 60 average guy doing down here?
He's hiding at the bottom.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
I guess I'll dump them all and do it over.
Yeah.
I clear mine every week.
Yeah.
And I actually have the weird situation where I have more goalkeepers than forwards. So I actually run out of forwards
That's
then.
crazy.
And so what bothers me the most is trying to figure out if I need to use 2 defenders or 2 midfielders. And then I get to the end and I still have like 2 rare cards left. And I'm like, I have to go back and see where I used a common. I think it's like the most painful part of the entire game is setting training lineups, mostly because I have no idea if it works. Like have you ever even thought of going into your lineup, into a player card the week after and seeing if you got XP? Nope. I could make it up every week and I would have no idea.
Yeah.
Or I could get nothing and I wouldn't know. I just know at some point I get another 0.5% and I feel good about myself. But like, I have no idea. There's no way to track it. You don't know if guys are close to going to the next level unless you go back to the chart of how many you need for each one. Like they could do so much with training and it's just such a hassle right now.
So question for you. If you get that tier 3 reward and you flip it over and it's a forward, are you like, yes, I can complete another training lineup?
Yes.
So I like it's not
and then I
totally
immediately put
useless.
It on the market. I haven't won a very usable card yet. But I pretty much look at them as like threshold hits now. Like I end up selling them for 0.01 or hopefully 0.01 because they're just tier 3 guys that I recently got like a 35-year-old defender from the K League. And it's like, I'm probably never putting him in a lineup. He doesn't start either.
Oh, come on.
No, well,
he's still got a good 5 years on him.
That's fair. I have to convince one other person that that's the case so that I can sell them the card, but it hasn't happened yet. But I don't even remember where I was going with that. But I think training should be easier.
Yeah.
Or just at least more transparent
or
so
different.
I know what I'm getting out of it. Like, I think I just don't know. I can't even go back and look and say like, oh, this lineup got this many points. Like I don't think about my training lineups at all. Like
I really don't either.
I put 5 guys in. Maybe I put in the 5 that don't have games together because I know it's not going to score any points anyway. But like, I really just try to get through it because I just don't feel like there's any strategy for it. But I also put in as many lineups as I can in tournaments. And so it's like that's my problem with this new academy thing. Like, do I just keep throwing 5 rares into D3 because I don't own any super rares, or do I give up on that so I can play the academy? I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think it's really going to depend on that structure of how many points you get per game week, per cashing out, and like weighing that against your odds and actually winning anything in D3. But I'm gonna have a similar internal debate on whether or not to do that or not with the much larger collection.
Yeah, I just don't see at that point, I just don't see the benefit of me hoping that the 5 rare cards and I don't like prioritize D3 either. It's like extra cards. So like the amount of luck I need for that to hit is just absurd. Whereas it's like, oh, well, I have plenty of junk cards that I can put into the academy that average fewer than 45 points. Shout out to Joao Felix. And maybe I just play
Patience.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was thinking like the reason why I'll never get to the end of the 3 months and like possibly get a star card because I'm not going to wait that long. I don't have patience. I'm going to speculate on the tier 3 every time I hit that. Within the 3 months just feels like an eternity in Sorare.
Yeah,
it's like 1,000 game weeks. I think
it's an eternity when you're coming from like DFS, right? Like it's
every week is a new week, right? You can just set a new lineup, pick a new guy.
And I think that the need for patience in this game, because I think you do need it, is kind of killing potentially retention.
Sorry, the sun is like killing me here.
Oh,
there you go.
Now we're good.
Patience is killing retention?
I think it potentially is. I don't think retention is a problem at all right now, but I know if people are on the platform for a month or 2 months and maybe they don't even hit a threshold, maybe they lose a lot of interest. I think it will be pretty detrimental if they change the way the thresholds are now, at least like what you need to score, because they're extremely achievable. Like 250 is achievable even if you get a DMP. It's difficult, but that week to week.
You think it should still be easy in some manner, like you can play common goalie or whatever the new scarcity is. You can play that and still get it.
I think so, because I mean you need people to feel accomplished in some way, in some form, and I think that's why a lot of people are upset at specific divisions or the amount of competition there is that awards pay out.
Just say it.
Whales.
What division are you talking about?
Oh, I mean like Division 4, right? Like.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Division 1.
Yeah.
No, but these people aren't playing there. They're upset.
Right, but I think people are upset though that in Division 1 that like
50% of people win.
Yeah, like 10 lineups get set, and like there's no. Look at the lineups in Division 1, and like some of them will win with a DNP, or like it's kind of silly that it's not like these are the top players, they're the smartest. It's just like they bought some guys and put them in, and they got good, like they bought good players, but they're not really even working that hard.
I think the two points there is it's maybe 15 people competing for 5 places, and the score you need is 65% of what you need in D4. And you're winning a tier 3 or tier 1 super rare.
It depends on the week. So I'll walk back what I said a little bit. Like I said that people weren't spending a lot of time. Like some of them do. Like Sorare had a week last week or the week before. He scored like 700 points or something. Like he broke the game. Like the scoreboard flipped. That was awesome. But you also have like weird midweeks where I don't know, there's a DNP or a couple DNPs and people you win a super rare. Like all you had to do was submit a lineup and not have a DNP or not have 2 DNPs and you get a card. I don't know. The appearance of that is kind of crummy, but then again, those are the people that spent the most to get into those divisions.
Yeah, I think that the hardest part about it that people can deal with is just the fact that the platform has taken off. So like they feel like all of these people are it's a pyramid scheme where people got in early and they're selling their tier 1 super rares down to people because, you know, they're only competing with 12 other people. But the amount of people that complain and maybe have money to even compete there, like, I don't know. I don't pay attention to it because like the way people talk about how such a good opportunity it is, why aren't people playing there? And that's a different conversation, but
because it costs $20,000.
Yeah, it's all based on risk. Like you could pay 20 grand.
I don't know. I think that is one of the biggest problems or issues to like actually solve with this type of platform, and it's clearly not solved. But
what are your thoughts on gates? Like if they just removed the gate and said that, hey, you can submit 5 rares in D1.
I would love it. I mean, I'm always looking more opportunity to play my cards, but I think you're right that uniques and super rares would need more benefit over rare cards, and we've been there. Like we had that.
We did.
And why did we change from that?
I don't know. It was pretty good.
I actually wanted to ask you guys that, but the other way, like, what if you could play any card you want in any division, but you only got like a baseline percentage? Like you could play uniques in Division 4, but they're scored like rares.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a while ago, which was kind of like the slider idea, which is each card has a power to a certain extent, and this is back when we had power restricted lineups, and you could take 100x unique, and you could slide that bad boy all the way down to 10 to match a rare to make a lineup that you wanted. And that way, like, a super rare that you bought doesn't just have super rare utility, it potentially has D4, D5, or whatever, and you just put it wherever you want. But you have the advantage of putting it as high as you want, or as high as it can go. And that's kind of like the structure that was in place with the power restricted lineups. I would like it, but it makes it difficult with the structure we have today.
So, Laird, the issue with the way that it was like a rare had, like, it started with 7.2x power, and you could scale that up, and that was, your players over time would get to 8,
12.
9, 10, 10x. We'll say 10x. And Division 4, for instance, had a power cap of 42x. So you had to get 5 players that met that condition. They couldn't go over 42x. So over time, power, or the multiplier, became a bad thing.
Right.
And that was a big problem. Like, I'm training my players. Why would I train my players? Because then they'll go over the cap, and I don't want them to go over to the cap, because then I have to play D3, and then they're underpowered in D3. So it was a bad structure, but I think that it could have been tweaked less severely. Like, it's a lot different now. And I think that the gates really kind of create this, like, idea that there's people that can just, not that it's not already pay to win, but it really looks even worse when people can just buy the 3 uniques or whatever, submit the lineup, and as long as they don't get a DNP, they get a card. And that's only for some divisions. You go look at Champion Europe and look at their competitions. It's a lot harder to win a card in D1.
Spicy.
What's that?
Spicy competition.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot harder. But I think too, with it being uniques, the actual, like, strategery around it there's a lot less, and it's just like, buy 5 cards, throw them in there. As long as they play, we'll do good. I don't know.
Well, really, the only strategy consideration is, do I play them regionally or in Global All-Star or the unique division, whatever that thing is called. Like, that's it. You don't have to say, am I playing this? And I guess you could play it in D2, but if you're trying to win D1, you're not going to do that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so far away from there, I barely think of it. I don't know. I felt like that question was going somewhere else, and I can't remember. It was going somewhere else in my head, and I can't remember where it was going now. Darn.
It's okay.
Well, we've already gone over an hour. So is there anything else we want to touch on? No? Jimmer, do you have anything?
Just any kind of questions that you guys have. I've been along for the ride. I've really enjoyed it.
Was there any Twitter questions that you wanted to have answered?
We kind of touched on them. Like, one of them was basically whether the new structure where the number of card payouts are based on the number of games that are being played, or number of teams that are playing, whether that benefits the bigger accounts or not. And yes.
Yeah.
It seems like people with more cards, if there are more opportunities to play them, then the people with more cards are going to end up having more lineups in there.
Yes.
That was all.
Yeah.
I did like this Illuminati one, but I don't think we need to.
I think we could talk for a long time about this Illuminati question.
This is speculation.
All right. The question was from Fear My Turtle DFS on Twitter. Any truth to the notion that the logo on Chelsea shirts is really just the number 3 planted by the Illuminati to tell us that virtually all rewards in the future are just going to be, I'll edit it, garbage tier 3 rares?
I think it's a hilarious question, first of all. Second of all,
There might be more merit if Chelsea was licensed on the platform. So
fair.
We're just looking at Kai right now.
Yeah. My wallet's very happy that they're not licensed because I would have the need to buy some Mason mounts. That said, I think, and we talked about this last week, tier 3s are going, like, if we really have this tier 3 party that we're talking about, tier 3s, look at them go. I think that we're gonna find the floor on some of these cards. We're gonna find out what the bottom is. There'll be some good ones, like Jimmer says, but yeah,
patience.
Yeah, patience.
I'm
moving again.
I really like the conversations around how to improve the utility on those, because I was looking at numbers and it's like 60% or more of cards don't even hit 40 average over the last 15 games. And, when you're talking about even the thresholds, you need more than 40 average across 5 guys to get 200, right?
A little more.
Yeah.
5. Yeah.
I think that's the math, right?
Yeah. So, like, what do you do with those cards? And right now the answer is collectability, or they're filling in with other cards that are going to get you higher averages. I like to play them as lottery tickets, but
not even that. Like, I don't want to drag this on forever, but we talked about this earlier. Like, the tier 3s like would be probably some of the backup goalkeepers, and we saw it last night where people had their backup goalkeeper listed on the market, and the starter gets injured, and what happens? There's a run on that player in the middle. Yeah, in the middle of the night, and I think that, like, those are the tier 3s that have a lot of value, and you probably shouldn't have those sitting out ready to be preyed upon on the market. Like, those ones could have significant value.
But it's such a small percentage of those cards, though.
That happens to, but
no,
I just mean, like, when it happens.
Tier 3 backup goalies, like, there aren't that. Those are scarce cards.
I mean, aren't all backup goalkeepers pretty much, for the most part, tier 3s?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, most of them, I would say none of them have collectability aspect. Like,
sure,
but also just the number. Jimmer, how many tier 3 goalkeepers are you collecting? Do you buy just for collecting?
Hold on, let's see. Do I buy for collecting? I spent a good amount of money recently on backup goalkeepers for I think I just maybe had drank a little bit too much.
But you bought them with the idea that maybe you could use them, right?
I bought them
based on speculation, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you speculated that they would play one day. You're not buying them like you would buy a Beckham card.
Correct. Well, so I bought the backup on Real Madrid. Lunin.
Right. I wouldn't call that a collectible, though. Like, I wouldn't say you bought that for the collectability. That's how I'll put it.
Just wait. Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I don't think that there's a whole lot of cards on the platform that would be classified as collectibles, just in general.
Right. Yeah.
Except the Zlatan.
I agree with that one. I wish I had one.
It's 1% of the cards are going to be collectibles, and I think, like, the real collectibles and like real physical cards, it's 1% of the cards are the ones that you actually want to own. Right. So your Hall of Famers or whatever super duper rare things.
Right.
So, I think it's absolutely possible that the Illuminati could be having the tier 3 garbage party.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great question.
Glad we confirmed that.
Weren't you going to ask about subs?
Oh, let's talk about subs and then we'll end it.
Yes.
Talk about subs and then end it.
So I just had this random thought about subs today because somebody asked me about it on Twitter. They were like, what do you think about this? Because I was complaining about my DNPs this week. And someone's like, oh, we need subs. And I responded that I'm actually not pro sub. I think, like, basically making every lineup now 6 cards that people have to buy kind of takes away from the ease of buy 5 cards and go nuts. But I was wondering what you guys thought of the idea of if you had a DNP, you were able to use a card from any other submitted lineup, but that removes it from that lineup. Would you do it?
Like retroactively? Like
No. So like if you submitted a D4 lineup and a D3 lineup in a region, excuse me, and you designated one of the D3 cards to be a sub for your D4 or vice versa, whatever, however it works. So then if you had a DNP, the lineup that had this designated player moves from one lineup to the other, which obviously kills the lineup he came from, because now you only have 4 cards in there. Would you do it?
I hate this.
yeah, I mean I would do it if it was part of the platform, but I don't know if I like that.
If they did that, I would cry. I would cry if they did subs. If they did subs in any way, I would throw up in my mouth and cry at the same time. Like, the thing I don't like about subs is it's just so complicated. Like, if I'm going to have a sub in my D2 or D3 lineup, now am I subbing a rare for a super rare? Or then you are so worried about not only the position that the player is playing in, because you don't know, is it your midfielder, your defender, your forward that DNPs, or is it your goalkeeper? Who knows? It could be any of those guys that that DNP. And then what if your sub's a completely different position? What if they're a completely different scarcity?
Let me change it though, that it stays within the same division. So you take a player from your Champion America lineup and you put it in your Global All-Star, and it's just the highest scoring one or lowest scoring one. I don't even care.
I just don't like it.
I go back and forth between getting on board with subs and not. And usually, whenever you have a good lineup that gets hit with the DMP, that's when you're like, subs wouldn't be that bad.
Subs would be awesome.
Yeah. I think where I settled, and it's always going to be difficult because you effectively raise that price point to compete. You can always buy 5 players and say subs are optional, but I thought it would be really nice to have a single goalkeeper sub for a lot of situations that are just terrible with goalkeepers, and that would ease the pain of buying like a Merit or an Ospina, and you could just put them with somebody else, and most people probably wouldn't even use that slot, and then just an additional extra slot, which is a sub. But then I was also thinking about it and was like, what if they reduced it to only 4 people? You play a goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and forward, and your extra slot is that sub.
SO4 plus sub.
I think the biggest thing out of all of this is go look at the biggest players and their training lineups and tell me that you want subs.
Yeah, and that's
end of story.
The other side of the coin is the highest percentage of managers on the platform are going to be in that camp, because they want, like when Mbappe is rested,
yep,
all of a sudden
we got a shot now, right?
Right,
we can do it.
And when Ronaldo is rested, we've got a shot, right? And that takes out a lot of the population. That's, I think, is really, really good, but it's damaging for the people who do spend that money. And I haven't seen it yet to where those people that hit with subs or get hit with DMPs are like, that's it, I'm out of here.
I feel so bad for all the Mbappe owners.
There's a lot of passion around it, but like, I've never seen it really tip people to the point of like, this is jeopardizing my enjoyment of the platform, I'm out. It obviously wrecks a game week, but acknowledging that that's part of it, and that's where the game is, and kind of introducing subs like totally kind of changes probably the market, probably changes the gameplay, and I'm on the fence of not doing it. I'm more on that side.
Oh, boo-hoo when a Mbappe DMP's like, come on. I'm over here worried about my Martin Hongla when he DMP's like.
I do plays every match. How dare you?
I don't know. It's like everything's about perspective, and getting like your guys' thoughts on those unique D1 entries. I would get somebody on the podcast and talk about it, because they would have pretty different opinions. And it's the same way. If you owned an Mbappe, if you owned Ronaldo, and you were getting hit by those DNPs, you'd probably have a different opinion.
Because they're DNPing all the time, but like
I mean,
out of the blue.
they aren't. But I mean, Mbappe did the other week, didn't he? When they,
I would say if they're going to spend that much money, they should just buy players that play often.
yeah. Why'd you pick a guy that was going to be DNP'd?
Yeah, just buy guys that play all the time. I don't get it. It's very easy. Very easy.
Yeah, buy a winning lineup. Why don't you do that?
Yeah, it's just buy the winners. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for that. James, thank you for coming on and joining us today.
By the way, we real quick before you close this out, what Bruges jersey you got on there?
Oh, we have to still support him, even though he was on the bench today. He came in, what was it, the 80th minute, 81st,
something like that. Yeah.
We still have to support the guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
For those listening,
the Lord himself. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hans got a jersey, which that is a sharp jersey. We'll say that. That's very nice. Anyway,
it was actually a shout out, a gift from Mr. Black himself.
What a guy! What a guy! So yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you everybody for listening. If you are listening to the audio version of this, if you could please just rate and review it wherever you are listening, and if you are watching on YouTube, if you could just hit the like button below, it would be very much appreciated. You could also subscribe for all of our videos. We're doing these every week, and we actually already have one for next week that we have lined up. It'll be another guest, so you guys can wait for that. So guys, thank you for that, and I'll see you in the Sorare streets.
See you in those training lineups.
Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.